Ideal Protein Nation, how are you? I hope your summer is going well. It's been a few weeks since my last show, but it was pretty epic with Dawn Halkoff. I hope you got to see that one. This one we've been working on really hard for you as well. Super excited about these ladies. This is going to be a really, really cool show. Before we get going, I'm pretty sure that we're going to end up having some brand new viewers and people who are not familiar with the Life Possible podcast. So for those of you that don't know, the Life Possible podcast was created to highlight or spotlight successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and actually reset what's possible for their lives. These people are pursuing goals and dreams they thought were dead and gone. They're pursuing goals and dreams they never thought they could. And in some cases, they're pursuing goals and dreams they never even thought they wanted to. This story today very especially hits the sweet spot of pursuing goals and dreams that either you didn't think you could or you thought were dead and gone. So that's why I'm super excited about this show. Who am I and why am I doing this? My name is Dr. John Barnes, and I am a clinic owner at Reset Wellness in the Northern Virginia area outside of Washington, D.C. And, you know, I got to tell you, there's no easy way to put this. 7 years ago, I found myself fat, sick, and depressed. And I had given up. I didn't even think there was a way out. Having never had a weight problem before, when I found myself in this situation, I didn't have any context for what had happened to my metabolism and how things had changed. However, I truly believe that the Ideal Protein protocol was brought to me as the answer to so many of my prayers, both personally and professionally. Man, I tell you, I lost 45 pounds right out of the gate. But even after that, I went on to lose another 20 pounds for over 60 pounds. But more than that, it actually changed what was possible for my life. Last September, I completed my first half Ironman distance triathlon, which was a dream I had in my 20s that I had given up as being dead and gone. So that's why I've decided to do this show. Well, who do I have for you today? I tell you, I like I said, I've got three incredible young ladies. First off, Jessica Bengtson. I hope that you have seen Ideal Protein's posts and the video that they put out. They put out about a 5.5-minute video of Jessica's skydiving life possible dream and goal that she achieved after doing the Ideal Protein protocol and with the help of her two coaches. And in fact, that's who else we got here. I can't even talk. I'm so excited about that. That's who else is here with us today. Allison Dozar. Talk about a firecracker of a coach. Man, I'm telling you, she is going to light this show up. And I can see how Jessica has been very inspired by Allison. And also Jennifer Couch. Jennifer as well. Just one of those motivating, positive coaches that really, I think that between the two of them, that office just must be taken off as far as changing people's lives and helping them reach their goals and dreams. They come to us from Colorado, from MBS Wellness. Let me see if I can bring them in. Let's see, ladies, where are you? Oh, there's Jessica. All right. Oh, we got Allison and Jennifer. All right, there we go, ladies. You didn't think I'd do it, did you?
No, it was too good. Thank you. We needed that. We needed that.
Absolutely, we needed that. Now we've got the energy in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what's going on in the past hour, quite actually, since we started the show, right?
Right, but we made it. We are here.
We made it work.
And you know what? I think that one word that we would use to describe all three of you is resourceful.
Definitely.
Right? Adaptable, resourceful, resilient.
Yeah, that's a big
I
part
think
of
those
it.
are perfect.
Fantastic. All right. So, ladies, you all jumped out of an airplane. Holy crap.
You sure did.
Woohoo!
And we were ready to do it again,
We
right?
Totally.
Yeah, we would have gone right back up there.
Maybe we should
Holy
do once a year anniversary.
And
Jumping
then
out
you
of
can, you
the
can jump
plane.
next time.
I
Yeah.
love that. I'll be waiting for you on the ground. Well, I'll do a live. I'll do the live show. We'll have the studio there.
Oh, that
can
would
just
actually be really fun.
parachute right into your chairs, and we'll just do it all that way. How's
I
that?
think you'd be surprised though if you were there with the energy. You might think that's how it's going to go down, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a plane.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be the scary part. All right, so let's do this. I want to start from the very, very beginning, and as I've already built the show, yes, Jessica's story and her jump is absolutely amazing, and I think the fact that Ideal Protein did such an incredible job producing that video, Chris Burke and the whole gang there, we'll throw a shout out to them. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, but I knew that there was a lot behind the story that Ideal Protein Nation would love to hear. It's one thing to see it happen, but we all want to know everything that built up to that moment, how you came up with the idea, Jessica, and all of that stuff. So I felt like it was appropriate, if we're going to start this story, that we're going to start in the beginning. And we're going to talk to Jen first, because Jen's going to start our story with her Ideal Protein experience and coaching at an Ideal Protein clinic. And we'll bring the players in as everybody's story kind of comes together for what I refer to you ladies now as the Ideal Protein Three Musketeers.
Oh, fantastic.
I love it.
Love it.
So Jen, start us off. Tell us, how did you find out about Ideal Protein in the first place? What kind of got you started?
So I started with Ideal Protein in 2012. I
Okay.
was hired on in a chiropractor office, and they had Ideal Protein there. My father had actually done it before I even knew what Ideal Protein was.
Oh, wow.
He lost like 60 something pounds, in 4 months or whatever it was. And like anybody else that doesn't know what Ideal Protein is, I was like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
what is this? Right.
Right. It
So
happens so fast. And
happened
you're just
so-
like, wait a second, Dad, you're melting.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was just loving life. And I go into the chiropractor's office, and I wasn't even hired on as an Ideal Protein coach. I was a chiropractor's assistant.
Okay.
So I was
Yep,
helping out
yep.
there for a little while. And the girl who was the coach decided to go and do something different.
Okay.
So I was approached by the owners. Hey, are you interested in Ideal Protein and coaching for us? We're going to send you for training, pay for everything. We're going to send you to the Super Weekend in Seattle. And I was like, absolutely. Like, this is,
Right. I'm in.
yeah, I'm totally in. So they sent me to the Super Weekend in Seattle. 2012 was my first Super Weekend. And I knew
That's
absolutely
crazy.
nothing about Ideal Protein except for it was something my father had done, and it looked awesome.
And that's 10 years ago.
And that was 10 years
10
ago.
years.
Wow. So that was like when
Yeah.
you were like 16. Like,
Yeah,
what's
right.
the deal with that? I don't understand.
I'll take it.
She was actually 8.
Yeah. So I learned everything in that weekend.
Uh-huh.
Came back from Seattle, that Monday, I started phase 1 myself. So simultaneously, I was doing phase 1 and learning how to coach it at the same time.
Yep. You know what? That's a great way to go, though. Quite actually.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I learned everything, and I was doing it along with my clients, and I fell in love with coaching. So I did that for 3 years there.
Wow. Okay.
So 3 years, and I decided that I was going to move on to do something different. And I was a paralegal for a while. So I was working in a paralegal's office, hating my life because I'm just sitting behind a desk, not talking to people. I mean, there would be days that went by that I wouldn't talk to another person. I'd just be on the computer, doing filing things, typing away. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this and wasting my time? I love helping people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went on to the Ideal Protein coaches portal and I just put my name in. And
Brilliant.
I forgot about it. I just forgot about it. Months later, one of the CRMs just calls me out of the blue and is like, hey, there's an office in Longmont that's looking to put an Ideal Protein clinic into their medical office. Would you be willing to meet with the doctor there? And I was like, is this a joke? Like, what? Like, who is
my
this?
God.
Because I had completely forgotten that I put my name into the portal as a coach.
She thought she won like an Ideal Protein sweepstakes.
Yeah, I was like, okay, sure, let's meet up. So I emailed Dr. Fretwell, who was the owner of Rocky Mountain Family Practice in Longmont, Colorado.
Yeah.
And I met up with him and he was like, yeah, I'm looking to put in this meal replacement program into my office to help my patients. And would you be willing to coach? And I quit my job. I was like,
you were like, oh,
I'm
hell
going to
yeah.
do it. Yeah.
I'm in.
Like we built it from the floor up. So, I had my alpha group. I had my beta group. I did not know a single person there. I had 0 clients when I went in there. I had to relearn everything because it was like 3 years from going from the chiropractor's office to starting Ideal Protein back up again.
And this is pretty much 2018 at this stage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic. So things get rolling.
So it was really awesome to be in a medical practice that had 5 other doctors already in that building. So they just funneled me clients. And then of course, word of mouth, people know what's happening, you're losing weight. So I ended up being, a year in, too busy to be able to keep up by myself.
You know what, quite frankly, that's how it should be. If you've got a medical practice that big, right? I mean, let's think about this. How many of their clients really could benefit from doing the Ideal Protein protocol, right? And if we run through the statistics, 70% of America is overweight, 42% is obese. And how many of those people have some form of metabolic syndrome, right? So literally that's kind of my thing. It's like in a medical practice, Ideal Protein is just such an amazing thing to have to give them the ability, because quite frankly, doctors they shy away from the conversation of weight loss because they don't have an answer.
Right. It's overwhelming. Right. It's an overwhelming question to answer.
Yeah. Well,
and what an amazing thing to say. Hey, you know what? We've got this program. I'd love for you to meet with Jennifer. I'd love for you to go to the workshop. Just check it out and let's see.
Yeah. It was pretty flawless there for a while. Right. I was already in building, right? It was like a one-stop shop. Like, the doctor would refer us, and the only thing they had to do was make an appointment. Or if my door was open, come just walk right in and be like, hey.
Right.
So it was really cool. And we helped a lot of people there.
Right. Fantastic. Well, and you already have the patient or the client already respects the doctor's opinion, right? They trust the doctor. So
100%.
I mean, it is a perfect feeder, and we're lucky enough now to still work with Dr. Fretwell. And we still have, we're still able to receive from that funnel and just really help.
Don't jump ahead on me.
Okay, my bad.
On me, Allison.
I'm just excited.
I know you are. All right. So Jennifer, things are rolling and you're too busy. What are you going to do?
Too busy. So I had to tell Dr. Fretwell, like, listen, I'm too busy. I can't keep up. We need to hire a second coach.
Yeah.
So we ended up putting an ad out for a second coach, and it was just part-time. It wasn't going to be anything full-time, but I could do half, and then, the other coach could take care of the other half.
Yeah.
So we put that ad out, and we got quite a few resumes back. So as I'm reading through them, there was 2 that I put aside, and one was Allison's, and then another one was another health coach. And the health coach, I did interview her, but she had absolutely no experience with Ideal Protein. She was just strictly a health and wellness coach. And I didn't think that that was the right route for her to be in that position. I really wanted somebody with experience of any kind with Ideal Protein. So that's when we took Allison's resume and we called, and she was willing to come in and start pretty much right off the bat. I was really looking for somebody that was just going to be on the same page as me, somebody that the same age as me, right? Like really having that same motivation, really wanting to help people, and just really eager to want to learn. And she was like the perfect fit. So
Allison, tell us how were you the perfect fit? And you had Ideal Protein experience before? What's
I
the story
did.
there?
So it's interesting because I didn't realize the timeline was 2012. And then, so probably around late 2012, my mom did Ideal Protein, and I'm from a small town in Louisiana called Morgan City. And so they had quite a few people, and I wasn't living in town at the time, but I saw my mom. I was like, Mom, you look great. She was just saying how she felt great. And I asked her, like, what are you doing? And my sister was so funny. She's like, she's just eating pudding. Like all she eats is this pudding. Right?
The
And
pudding diet. I love it.
Right. And so I talked to my mom a little bit about it. And then I was proposed to, and I had some weight to get off a little bit, to feel really good for my wedding. And so I actually, with the recommendation of Ideal Protein from my mom, went to a clinic in Colorado that I think is, still around. They still do great. And it was a great clinic. It was so educational. And so my IP journey started there as a client.
Wow.
And so this was before we had all 3 phases. That was when we had the 4 phases. Yep. And so I really enjoyed it. I was really successful, and I, kept a little piece of Ideal Protein in my heart, but life kind of moved on.
I'm sad we don't have wedding pictures. We should. You didn't tell me that part of the story. Otherwise, we'd have wedding pictures. Okay.
It's okay. I'll post some. No, I'm just kidding. So I definitely won't post any, but so anyway, have the wedding. And again, I just really appreciated the education piece of Ideal Protein. And I've had that piece with me, since I did it in 2013. And then, so from there, at that time, I was working as an executive assistant for 2 marketing guru guys, great guys in Boulder, Colorado. And I was just, I really wasn't looking for a new job. I was very content. I loved the work that I was doing for them. And then after doing that for about a decade, I just kind of reached a point where it was just one of those moments that we all hopefully have, where we like sit back, have a little self-awareness, and say, okay, like, take the temperature, basically. How am I feeling right now? What do I want to do with my life? Is this the direction I want to be going in? Just take a little inventory of how I felt. And I knew it was kind of time to move on. And so
that's the thing. When you start a job at 16 and you work it for 10 years, I mean, what is it with the labor laws out there in Colorado, hiring so young? I don't get it.
I know. We should really look into it.
All right. So you're like getting the itch. Okay. I gotta start thinking about something else.
Yeah. I just honestly felt an urge to move into something different. And so I did that, and I took some time off, and I really didn't do much of anything. I saved up a little money, and then I didn't do much of anything for 2 months other than just focus on mental health, physical health, slowing down a little bit. And again, like keep reevaluating of what do I want to do? What's next? And kind of just waited. And to be honest, I was hungry for something, but I wasn't starving. And so I really was just waiting to see what opportunities came up.
I was putting the vibes out there
right
this time, so she knew. I'm like, come help me, please.
Yeah.
And randomly one day, and we just happened to be in my living room, which is kind of special.
Speaking of vibes.
Randomly one day I looked like I wasn't even job searching, but I did look at Craigslist. I think it was Craigslist for some postings, just to kind of see what was out there, like just to put feelers out, and there was no pressure, but I did see that a doctor's office in town. Now, I have a little bit of a medical background. I went to nursing school for 3 years and had a change of heart, but I really love the human body and biology. I'm extremely fascinated by it. So sitting in here, find the ad. It's at a doctor's office. And I was like, it was for a health coach, and it mentioned a supplemental weight loss program, but it did not say Ideal Protein anywhere on it. And I gave them a call, and I got my resume all fancied up. And I was like, let's go pretend I'm a health coach. See what this is about.
It was tie-dyed, wasn't it? That's the impression it was probably.
Yeah. I got there and the doctor's coats were all tie-dyed, and I was like, this is my home.
I found my place.
No. But I went in. Jen actually happened to be out of the office the day that I went in, like something came up. And so I sat down and talked with Dr. Fretwell. And I said, hey, by chance, is this Ideal Protein? Because I know the protocol pretty well. And, I would just love to be a part of it if it is. And at that time, I was like, if it's 5 hours a week, it's 5 hours a week. Like, it was just such a good fit.
Yeah.
That's what really made it easy.
Right. And then I started working there, and probably within 2 days, Jen and I really were like, okay, this is a cool connection. I started my training with our CEM at the time. And this was right when two things were happening. First, they had just rolled out stabilization.
Okay.
And I was really impressed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that they had rolled out was the food is medicine.
Yep.
And as we all know, in weight loss, really at first when I started to work for Ideal Protein, there was this little bit of me hiding, not wanting to be known as a weight loss coach, because it's just so saturated with these different messages, right? But then once they said food is medicine, I was like, this is my spot. That's one of my favorite quotes, let food be thy medicine. Because absolutely. It's so powerful. It's so simple, yet it's so overlooked. And then we just started working, and things really started booming at the office.
And I want to stay on that point, Allison, because it's such a huge point, right? And we're fighting so much as far as social agendas, et cetera, and diet mentality. And, the fact that we staked our claim and just basically said, look, weight loss is healthcare that people deserve.
Right.
And food can be medicine. It's just like any other medicine. It can be harmful or it can be life-changing.
Definitely.
And I think that's, so super important that's our space. Right.
Definitely.
And nobody does that space better than we do.
Absolutely. We talk about it all the time with clients. Really what we're trying to do is improve your health, and weight loss is the byproduct of that. We're trying to improve mobility and improve functionality. Weight loss is always the byproduct, which is great. Right.
It is an inside out protocol
forever.
I mean, the education that you get behind Ideal Protein is invaluable.
Yeah. And it's metabolic first and it's weight loss second is really what it turns out to be. Right.
Right.
Love that.
Absolutely.
So you guys are rolling. The office is clicking, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, this can't get any better. And then Jen.
Then we both do Ideal Protein.
Then we both go on phase 1.
Because we just loved Ideal Protein.
And we decided we were going to give ourselves a little bit of a challenge for ourselves, the coach each
I love it. Yeah.
And I get pregnant in April of
Lo and behold, that's one way to get out of phase one, isn't it? Huh?
2020.
Right? That's what I was thinking. She calls and she's
I mean, I was excited. Don't get me wrong, but I was also like mid-stride.
I
so
think you had
excited.
just
I
hit
was
20
doing-
pounds.
I was doing so well.
She was like 4 or 5 weeks in, just hit 20 pounds, and she called.
yeah, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm having an IP, baby. She's
Oh,
like, no
that's awesome.
way. So, right at the beginning of the pandemic, too.
Yeah.
This story has everything, and it
It
includes
does.
an
It really
IP
does.
baby for the coach.
Yeah, so that was really fun and exciting.
Definitely.
So we
And-
took a break from phase one.
Yep.
And yeah, we just kept going along with the training as we were still gaining clients.
Yep.
Then we took a class for health coaching.
Right. We got ACE certified.
So
for
we
health
got
coaching.
ACE certified for health coaching while I was pregnant. I think the day the book showed up, is when I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
So we were going through all of that, and we were just really trucking along. And I ended up going on maternity leave in January of
Yep.
2021.
It said, Allison, you can take it. It's all yours.
Yeah, I said,
Pretty
hey,
much.
good luck.
Right.
I'll be
January is a perfect
okay.
time because
It's so
nobody's
funny, though.
dieting in January.
Right?
Right. Everyone was dieting. And I just remember, and it's so funny now, like where we are looking back. And this just goes to show you, like, we all have to start somewhere. And there's just so much growth. In the beginning, like, I was so terrified to make an order.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
she was
Right.
calling
To make
me.
like a big order, I'm like, Jen, you
Can
know?
you help me?
And
with
then
this?
now it's like something we do in our sleep, but it just
Yeah.
goes to show you with time,
Yeah.
like we become experts and
Right.
Right.
lack of a better
right.
word, you know?
Exactly.
What seems scary at first becomes kind of an
It's
everyday
second
thing.
nature.
Scary. Yes.
Right.
It's very cool. Very cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so now I have a new baby, and I come back, and Allison's killing it, which I knew that she would.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know, we're just kind of going through the motions, and that's pretty much I think when Jess came in, right?
Yep. Just comes in
Jessica.
August.
Jessica,
There she is.
are you still here?
I'm still here.
So here we are, August 2021,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Jessica, take us through the decision. Number one, take us through how you found out about Ideal Protein,
Okay.
kind of why you were considering doing it at this point in your life, and what brought you to their clinic.
Awesome. Actually, so what started my journey was I went to the doctor. I was getting heartburn all the time. And so I honestly, I was like, I haven't been to the doctor in a very long time. I should probably, let's be an adult and actually, go get a checkup. And so, and I walked in and, we talked. Her name's Diane. She's lovely. And at Rocky Mountain Family Practice. And
Okay.
basically she sat me down and we didn't even talk weight. I did not look at the scale because, when you go into the doctor's office, they make you get on the scale and, take your height and your weight. And I told the nurse, I was like, please, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I was like, I know it's bad, but don't tell me. So, and then I get into her office and we're just kind of talking about heartburn and how we can, fix that and go about those things. And, as we come to the end of my visit, she asked me, she's like, have you always, been a bigger girl or been this big? And I said, for most of my life I have. Yeah. And then she just asked me, do you want to do something about it? And I said, I probably should. And because what we were talking about is I want to have a baby. And at almost 400 pounds, it is possible, but it, in my mind, is kind of dangerous. So, and then, when I said yes, she handed me a card for Ideal Protein. And she said, okay, these ladies are lovely. Give them a call if you want to do something about it. And that's kind of where my journey really started. I did call. I think I called that same day and I set up an appointment. And I had the date right, but I got the time wrong. So I missed my first appointment. And I called back, and I can't remember if it was Jen or Allison who answered the phone when I called back, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm the worst, like got my timing off, and they scheduled me, I think just a couple days later, and I got to go in and kind of sit with them and sit with Allison, and kind of just talk to her about kind of what I want to do going forward, and enter Ideal Protein.
Yeah, right. Right.
Ideal Protein.
Well,
that deserves a too.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the first show that will have that sound effect. All right. So Allison, Jessica came in, and how'd it go? What were you thinking?
Jessica came in, and she was so soft-spoken, as she kind of is, and just so lovely and so open, and honestly so confident in those moments of wanting to, like, you could tell she was ready to make the change, right? Whatever she had on the whatever she had on the inside was clearly hitting, because she walked up and, I mean, head held high, just, I'm here and I'm ready. And I sensed that immediately.
And Jessica.
Yeah.
So you meet with this crazy person, and what did you think about Allison straight out of the gate?
Honestly, I think I loved her from the beginning. Because we said, I mean, it was kind of like I was going to see an old friend, really, is how she made me feel when I walked in. I just sat down, and, I think she started it with, like, here's what we do here. This is kind of what we're looking at going forward. She kind of walked me through kind of what phase 1 looks like, and how strict it is on phase 1. But it was never like, this is the only option, like, we basically walked in, it wasn't that I had to start Ideal Protein. It was, here is what we offer. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And, from there, I even told her, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. I know that if it has to be stricter for it to work. I've been on the diets that give me freedom, and, or not enough freedom, there's a very delicate line. But I knew that going into it, I was like, okay, this sounds like something I can do. This sounds like something that will work for me, because it doesn't give me a whole lot of wiggle room. It's pretty guided, and I really appreciate that about it. That's how I succeeded, and she told me that same day, like, take the weekend, think about it. Think about if this is right for you. Like, it's a big commitment. And I did. And
so I love this part of the story. So you went home, and you thought about that weekend, which consisted of what? What was your process?
So my process, it kind of started a little bit with my husband. My husband has a very logical brain and a very financial brain. And so I sat down, and because there is a cost involved with this protocol. And so what I did is I just took the cost, and then I went through every statement we have, our bank statements, my credit cards, everything. And I sat down, and I went through every time we went out to eat, every time we drank, any expense that, we were intaking, food or drink, I wrote down, and I added it all up. And that number was a bit astronomical. It was like $1,700 a month on nonsense.
Right.
That's all we did during COVID was eat and drink.
Well, and you know what? That was 80% of America, really.
Right. And so once I went through that, I was really excited for my husband to come home from work that day. I was like, I really want to do this. I was like, and he, you know, not only is it because I think it's going to work, but look at our finances. Look how we can save money by me being on something like this.
Wow.
And
That's
and
awesome.
and he just said, if this is what you want to do, babe, I am 100% behind you. So, which is pretty cool.
Go him,
Yeah.
right?
I
I love
know.
that.
That's awesome.
He has been the entire time.
Yeah, he's been
He
such
has
a good
It's been
support.
such an awesome support system.
Yeah.
I'd love,
Oh.
can I just back up just a small, I love that you remembered it being an option for you, because I think that's so important when we're meeting people and introducing this as an option, because it's really the client's choice, right?
It has
No
to be.
one likes to be told what to do.
Mhm.
And so it really, and I feel like, and I don't really remember this being part of, you know, our introduction, but it empowered you to go home and actually do this math, because it wasn't Diane saying, you know, and if we back up the story even further, when you met with Diane, the doctor, she didn't say, hey, go see Allison. She
Right.
said, look, this is available for you. And then when we met, it's like, look, these are your options. And I think there's so much power in that, and allowing people to stand in their power and decide if they're ready to make the next step, and if what's available is the right choice for them. Because I also stand behind that it's not right for everyone, and that's okay, you know, or maybe it's not the right time sometimes for people,
Mhm.
and that's okay. And I think that as coaches, we need to share that, hey, it's okay if this isn't for you, but here's an option. And I'm so happy you did take that option, because look at where we are now. I mean, look at where you are now. Look at your health parameters, where they are now. So
Absolutely.
I love that you
Well,
remember that.
and when we were at Super Weekend and I gave my speech, I mean, one thing you and I have taught, or actually, I think it was Val who actually like put it in my head. But she, you know, that was the day I took control of my life.
Yes, love that.
Yeah.
That's what's so
Yeah.
important about that story, is that you decided to do this on your own, and that control that you had
Right.
to make this decision, and you just took off with it.
Right. I'm so glad I did.
Wow.
Me too,
Yes. Oh my God. So amazing. Well, and I'll share too. You know, I met with Jennifer and Allison by themselves, and then I met with Jessica by herself first. And when Jessica, we had that first interview, that was one of the things she said was, I remember that, you know, it wasn't the hard sell. It wasn't the pushing me to do it. It was, she said, yeah, take a minute, take a while to think about it. And I think that goes a long way. That's certainly always been
Yeah.
our approach here.
Another thing, it's never been about the scale with Allison either. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the one who focuses sometimes too much on the scale, but
We
it
all
was
do.
never the number, you
Yeah.
know, because I remember stepping on it for the first time, looking at that
That's
scale.
right.
and
That's where I
whoa.
was going next, right? So
Yeah.
you hadn't been on a scale in quite a while, right?
Right.
You didn't see it when you were at the doctor's office, and so you decided to say, yes, I'm going to do this, and then went in for the first time and got on the scale, saw
Yes,
the
I
number.
did. Yeah, and it was 371.1 pounds. And
There you go. Wow.
I just remember looking at it like, okay. Wow. Okay. And I think in that moment, I really did just kind of, this is the last time I will ever see that number.
Yes.
That is amazing. And I say it to people when we're standing on that scale, and it kind of takes their breath away. I said, you know what? Today is the last day we're ever going to see that number.
Oh my God, that gives me
Love
chills.
Yeah.
You say
100%.
that too. Don't even focus
Yeah.
on that number.
No.
Yep.
and-
Well, share that, Jessica, because you shared that with me. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I, you know, I mean, because I initially, we never talked really about a weight loss goal either, like the number. We didn't talk about how much weight I wanted to lose, because if I would have said it, then I would have said I wanted to lose 200 pounds. And that number felt huge.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so big and so unattainable. And, you know, so I was very happy in that moment that we didn't focus, like it wasn't the scale we were focusing on. We were focusing on changing my mindset around
And the
dieting.
journey.
Yeah, to the journey and to the now, where that number becomes possible because it's irrelevant now.
Yeah.
But then you just start breaking away at it. And I mean, look at us. We're talking, what, we're 10 months. Are we 11 months now?
We're 11. Uh-huh.
But I mean, to 11 months, if we would have talked, this is interesting. If you would have said 200 pounds, how long, I wonder, and we can't go back and ask you this, but I do wonder, like, how long would you thought that would have taken?
Yeah.
You know, because we're almost there and we're at 11 months.
Right.
I know.
Right.
And I can
Less than
promise
100
you,
pounds
you
down.
wouldn't have said, I know, knowing you wouldn't have been like, oh, I could probably do that in a year, you know?
Yeah, right. I can
Well,
knock that out in a year.
Right? But look what you can do. Look what you can
I
do when
know.
you do pay attention and focus on right now the process and the choices that you're making, you know, day to day. Those small choices all add up.
They do. They do. And
Well-
honestly, it's crazy. Sorry.
It
And
is
Jessica,
great.
we talked about this a little bit too. I asked you, I said, you know, when in those first few weeks or when in the journey did your mind finally click over and say, oh yeah, this is going to work and it's going to work as long and as much as I want it to?
You know, I remember when you asked me that question initially, I mean, I don't really know. I want to say it was around the 50-pound mark.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
And it was just
Yeah.
because it came off so incredibly fast. And at the 50-pound mark, I was feeling amazing. My
Yeah.
joints weren't
Right.
hurting anymore.
Right.
You know, my skin looked better, my hair looked better, you know, just everything just felt better. And at just 50 pounds.
At just 50 pounds, right? And that's
Yeah.
the thing. People feel so much better. And like you said, look so much better and so much younger, even in the first few weeks,
Yeah.
because of the inside out protocol and because of the metabolic changes happening inside. That's the really cool part.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, I never understood that this was possible. And it's just like, if I look back to that first day and I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow. Like,
Well,
look at
and
me
also, and also too, Allison, you kind of had a concept of, you know, wrapped around this idea of when you get to that point to believe that this may be possible, right?
Definitely. Well, I remember asking her when she said, I don't know if I asked you or you said like, oh my gosh, I feel like this is possible first, like which one came first. But I do remember us having the conversation of you have to believe it possible for it to actually happen. Because if you don't believe that you can do it in those moments where, you know, you don't have motivation and you need a little discipline or you need that little self push, like it won't happen because you don't believe in yourself to it. And I think it's fantastic. And it's another thing that sets us apart from other programs is having a coach and someone on your side for those moments where we do get a little down to just say, look, I believe in you. But the real power is when we believe in ourselves to do something. That's when we start seeing those huge changes. And so I remember us having that conversation. And I was so stoked because I'm like, it's going to happen because she believes, you know, and it's the difference. It really is the difference. So we're so happy to have our clients' backs, but the real magic happens when we believe in ourselves and we see that, you know, manifest in our own lives.
Definitely. You can see the switch in every client.
Yeah.
Right? When they're a few
it's
weeks
why we do
in
it.
and they walk in and they have that pep in their step and their skin
Yeah.
is brighter and they come in and they're just ecstatic to actually come in and get on the scale instead of like, I
Yep.
don't know, let's see what happens.
Right,
You
right.
know when they make that switch, right? I just had that
Yeah.
happen today with one of my clients and I'm like, I am so happy to see you just happy.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's what Jessica was talking about earlier. It's like seeing people take the step into their power,
Yes, absolutely.
take charge.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and you know what, too? I think it's a situation. So many people have tried and failed, right? You know, I tried this program, I tried that program, I tried this program. It's like, you know, to even get to the point where you're willing to give Ideal Protein a shot, right?
Right.
But I also love, Allison, when we were talking, that you literally, the spin you put on it was, you need to give yourself permission to believe that it's possible.
Definitely.
And I think that was such a profound and powerful statement. And I try not to push that on people, but it's hard, because it's going to work.
Right.
And you're like, come on. And sometimes I say, look, I can't believe in this more than you do. Right?
Definitely.
I can't believe in you more than you do yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one.
So here we go, right? And actually, you know what? I'm going to show, as we're talking about this, I am going to show the first graphic. But the first graphic is going to be this amazing. Tell me about this, Jessica. Tell me about these pictures and where you are in your journey when the after picture has been taken.
Look at that.
So the before picture, I go scalloping in Florida with my family every year. We go get fresh scallops out of the ocean, and it is a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not going this year because my mom.
Where's my scalp?
Yeah, girl, where's our
I was just going to
scalp?
say, wait a second.
I mean, you've been to Florida a few times since we've known each other.
I think we're all going scalloping soon.
I'll bring some fresh ones home next time. They are worth every. And they're like this big. So.
Wow.
But so I had met with Allison, I think, before I went this first time.
Okay.
And I had full intention. I wanted to get started, but I knew I was going to sabotage myself if I did it before I went to Florida. So I had an appointment for after I got back, because I initially met with Allison on the 31st of July.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't start, I didn't start protocol until that following. It was this, I had to wrap my head around starting on a Monday. So we started on the 2nd of August. And I think this picture we had, it was this 15th or 16th of July is my before picture. I'm still living my best life. I really enjoyed every moment of that scalloping trip.
That.
That's awesome.
And then this after picture, I think I just took a couple weeks ago. We were getting ready to go. Oh, we were getting ready to go ziplining for my birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's the video of that?
It was so cool. It was so much fun. But this morning I woke up, I did my hair, I did my makeup, and I was just feeling really good. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a picture of myself. So
and I think most people go ziplining looking like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just walked off of a yacht. Like, I don't zip line now.
I'm ready for ziplining.
It was pretty great. But yeah, I love this picture.
As you should.
We do too.
Picture.
You should. Absolutely. That's awesome. And you know what too? Let's keep going through a couple of these pictures now while we're going through this. So evidently on that first day, Allison remembers what you wore. She said something about a jean skirt.
Yes, sure did. Because I remember I complimented. I'm like, girl, I love that skirt.
Yep, you did.
And so I think I think I've got a picture of the skirt a little bit later in your journey. And it seems like everybody likes to wear this skirt.
Yeah. It started out, so I've lost more weight than this lovely redhead over here weighs. This is my sister Tori. But I've lost more weight than she weighs as a person.
She actually weighs. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I told her, I was like, we have to take a picture together in this skirt, because I'm pretty sure you'll fit in there with me.
That's amazing. That is so awesome.
I know. I love this picture. I gotta frame it and put it up on my.
Oh, you have to.
Absolutely, 100%.
And then the kids turned it into a Snuggie.
Yep, pretty much. They were like, "I want to get in there, aunties."
Right. Look at those two cuties. Oh my God.
Gosh. I know.
Tell me about them. Who are they?
So the little blonde one is my nephew Valen. He's 3, and then my princess Lola. She's 4.
Lola.
And
I love it.
I have one more. Her name's Fallon. She lives in Florida. But
Oh.
yeah, there she is.
Would that be her?
That is her.
I love
this
it.
picture I love so much with all three of them, because in my journey there, I was down
I
100
remember this.
Yeah, I was down a little over about 115 to 120 pounds. And together, these children weigh 100 pounds in that picture.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I should have sent you the graphics for the other three, but I have this picture 3 times. So I have this picture when Lil Fallon was
Jess.
brand new.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when you took this photo, Jessica sent me the text of the photo and she said, I can't believe I used to walk around carrying this much every single day.
And that's what I was going to say. How much did it feel to put 100 pounds back on and try to move?
It was insane.
Yeah.
Because like that is heavy. I walked around for a minute and I was like, oh my goodness. At one point I put my sister on my back too, and just tried to walk around with her. And I can't believe that was my everyday.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty cool illustration of that whole quote, like choose your hard, right? Because Ideal Protein phase 1 can be challenging. It can be hard, but so is carrying 100 pounds around every day. I mean, talk about hard on your joints,
Absolutely.
So I just think this is like such a positive illustration of that.
Right. And how much energy does it take? I mean, literally the amount of energy it takes every single day to do, the smaller things or walk from here to there or.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a part-time server. I work at a restaurant. I've done it for like 12 years now. And I went in recently and I just picked up a shift and my boss looks at me and she goes, Jess, it is amazing to see you walk around now. She's like, you're not limping. You're not winded. You're not sweating. Like you just look like you belong here. I'm like,
yeah. How much easier must that have been?
Well, I can't believe I did it close to 400 pounds at all,
Wow. All right. So now we're going to take ourselves, and what's really funny too, you had mentioned at one point you went in to see your doctor or went in to see a doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, have you really lost 100 pounds in a year?
Right.
And what was your answer?
I said, nope, 6 months.
Oh, I gotta figure that out when that's coming.
Well, and that was the coolest interaction I've ever had with a doctor before. Like,
right?
I was like, oh my gosh, I feel
Jess, how proud did you feel in that moment? Like, we talked about this, about you facing the doctor over the years, like as you continued to gain weight and kind of like how that made you feel on the inside. But tell us a little bit, if we have time for it, about how you felt like being able to say, no, I put my mind to this and this is where I'm at because of that 6 months in.
Oh my gosh, it felt so cool. Because she goes, Jess, keep up the good work. Like you are killing it. And I was like, thank you. Over time, over this whole journey, being told you're killing it, you're doing a great job. Like at first I was like, yeah, I know, now I'm like, yeah, I am.
I love that.
I am.
Hey,
that took me a minute, but it feels really good.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, and did you guys just see how Allison just auditioned to be the co-host for the Life Possible podcast by asking the questions there? Pew, pew, pew.
Sorry, John. I'll fall back.
Oh, there it is. No, you go, girl. You
did I pass the audition?
You know what? We'll talk later.
All right. Talk to my agent.
Right.
She has some paperwork. She has some paperwork for you.
I knew that wouldn't be easy, right?
Right.
All right. So you've lost 100 pounds. You're cruising along. And tell us a little bit about the whole concept of how the idea of skydiving kind of developed in your head?
So I've always kind of wanted to go skydiving. My sister did it for her high school graduation, and I really wanted to be up there with her, and it was just,
Yeah.
my as I got older, my weight came on a lot quicker, access to my own money, those kinds of things. But I think I've always wanted to go skydiving, but it just didn't kind of seem like something I'd be able to do unless there was some drastic change in my life. And, it was kind of born throughout this process. I became a lot goal oriented with this process.
Yes.
I wanted to be like,
Yes.
if I hit this point, I want to do this. If I hit this point, I want to do this. And, it just kind of kept going. And
Well, I think that's super important. And especially when the journey is going to be long. I think that's a fantastic strategy that people should adopt. Again, let's set a mini goal. Let's set so
Definitely.
far, and this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm going to get, or
Absolutely.
I love that, because every pound, it doesn't have to be the full amount. Like every pound is leading up to the full amount. So it's all part of it.
Right.
So we can celebrate throughout, because,
Yeah.
without pound 15 down, you're not going to hit 20, and you're not going to hit 40, and you definitely won't hit 150. So I think you're so onto something. I think that is so important to celebrate frequently, and practice celebrating. We're in our culture, it's so much food celebration.
Yes.
What do we do to celebrate? We go get ice cream.
Yep.
It does not have to be that. It's that way because that is the habit, but we have the power to change that. And so we can start practicing celebration through self-love, which is not, food all the time or ever really, so
Absolutely.
I think that's very important.
Yeah. I think this is why this is so brilliant. Right.
Totally.
And you knew that there was absolutely, there was a cutoff. There was a weight you had to achieve in order to even do this. Right.
We did, which was 250 pounds. You had to be under 250 pounds to go.
One of my favorite times in the jump, and I won't go too forward, but when
she goes again.
Wait, I was there and kind of how this skydiving thing started was Jess told me a story about how she and her husband went somewhere and they were going to get on a helicopter. And the feeling, she had to be a certain weight to get on this helicopter, and she had dieted up until she stepped on the helicopter, and then she was like, okay, I'm done with that. But the way that she described how she felt in that 3 minutes of getting weighed, and what that felt like, and how scared she was that they were going to turn her around.
Yeah. Wow.
So when we are getting on the scale at the skydiving place, she looked at me and she had zero worries in her mind, because she was like, yeah, right. I've been doing this, and I took charge of this, and it just, that contrast, that made me cry in that moment, because that's a terrible feeling. The worry is gone. Right.
Right. That's so incredible.
And that's kind of how we started talking about skydiving, I think, was with you explaining that story about the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then to the roller coasters.
Because I think that was the point that I had passed the helicopter weight, I think, in my IP journey. So I think that's how we brought it up.
Wow. And so then when was this? This was
in November.
Anybody remember the date?
The 18th. November 18th.
Yes, it was November 18th, a day that was penciled in. We're going to do this thing, right?
It was.
You know what? So this brings me to this point. Okay. I have a video clip that I want to play.
Woo!
Yeah.
Let it roll.
We are breaking out everything for the show.
Grab your tissue.
And here's our first video clip.
My coach's reactions when I told them I wanted to skydive were probably the coolest reactions of all.
The first time I heard of Jessica's plans to go skydiving, it was November 18th. We were having a wonderful conversation post weigh-in, and we were just talking about how when you're overweight, sometimes you're not allowed to do things, and there's certain limitations on, we were talking about roller coasters, and then she said, you know, and I never knew this, she said, you have to be 250 pounds to skydive. And I think when I hit it, I'm gonna go skydiving. And like, without even thinking about it, I was like, and I'm coming with you, you know?
Without hesitation, she told me, I'm going with you. Jen got on board shortly after that, and it's been the topic of conversation in every meeting since then.
I thought that was great, right?
Yes.
However, well, so first off, Allison, had you ever skydived before?
I actually have.
Okay,
I
so you
skydove.
you had that under your belt. You were kind of like,
I
okay.
did, but I was never going to do it again because when I did it, I had a crash landing.
Oh,
And so
geez.
I was like, one and done, good
Never do
to
it
go. Check that off.
Gotcha.
And that was in that's funny. That was in 2012.
Wow.
Yeah,
2012 was the year.
Yeah, it was.
The quintessential year where all of this began.
Yeah, it sure was. That was so.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had done it, but I was like, okay, I'm good. But when Jess brought it up, again, I get in trouble for doing stuff like this, but I was just like, there was no way that I wasn't gonna to be there to do it with her, you know?
Yeah.
And also too, and this is a cool point, to change my own story. Like, we have that choice too, right? My story was that skydiving was terrible. I was gonna have a crash landing. Thank God I didn't die, but I could have went my whole life and that could have been it. But it's so important to, you know, change that up. That doesn't have to be the story. And we can learn from that and move on and make the story what we want it to be, which this is a much better story,
And
right?
she changed the story.
Well, and Jen, you know, it's so funny because I said, well, and you know, Jen was on board shortly thereafter, but that's not the way I heard it. I had heard that you said something like,
they came and approached me, and Allison was, you know, on cloud 9. We're gonna go skydiving. Just
right.
her goal. And I was like, wait, me too? My goal too?
I heard the quote was, y'all acting crazy.
Y'all are crazy. But how amazing. How could I say no? How could I not?
I can't even know.
And the irony of it is that Jen was like the stoic warrior chick through like the whole thing. She was just like, took it like a champ. Like, hey, should we go again?
Allison's sitting next to me hyperventilating. I'm like, are you good?
Hey, I was changing the story. There was some work to be done in that moment.
Maybe I was just naive enough to not know what was coming.
All right. We're getting ahead. Oh my God. Freaking hilarious, right?
My cheeks actually hurt right now.
I know, mine too.
Oh, we just got started.
Story,
I know, we just got started, man.
To have
It is.
back, and for us to be able to do this, all three of us together, with embarking on a new business and just meeting her goal, like it all just aligned so well that I had to say, we're going to do this and we're all going to do it together and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I never thought for one moment she wouldn't do it, by the way.
Yeah.
I knew she was in.
Yeah.
Even though she had like a 9-month-old at the time.
Yeah, I did have to do my research, you know, to make sure that everything was going to be okay. Like, I have 2 kids at home.
Orphan them already, right?
Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, so but that also, and Jen, you let it slip a little bit there. So we've got this amazing excitement and energy going on in the clinic, right? Oh my gosh, Jen's killing it. Our other clients are killing it, but or Jessica's killing it. But she wants to jump out of this plane, and we're going to do it. Number one, Allison, in order to solidify the fact that you would have to change your story, what did you do as soon as the plan was hatched, as soon as you decided?
On November 18th, when Jess left, I think it was, we'll have to check back to see how good my memory is, but I think it was a Friday or something, because I remember like there's a moment at the end of every day where, you know, you just like, or at least we try to reflect and just think of all the things that happened throughout the day, all the wins, all the things we could have done better. And I was just like, had this feeling inside of me that was, I just remember being so grateful for the times that we had spent with the clients that day and for Jessica and I's conversation. And so I took to social media and I said, this is what we're going to do. Like, I made the declaration of,
You
this
put
is
it
what
out
we're
there.
going to do, because I knew that it could have easily just slipped right through our fingers with everything that, you know, it was also like, let's not forget that the holiday season is right around the corner. It's November 18th. So I said, nope, this is what we're going to do. My client said that she wanted to go skydiving, and, you know, when she reaches her goal, because it wasn't a question of if, it was
just
when, right?
Yeah.
When she reaches her goal, we're going skydiving. I hope you guys can, you know, follow along. But it wasn't even like this following thing. It really was the statement of, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Hold us
That's
accountable.
so awesome.
You know.
Hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ginger, you're not getting out of this. So you're gaining excitement, you're gaining momentum, and things are going super great. And all of a sudden, as luck would have it, a monkey wrench gets thrown in somewhere around late December then that year. Like you said, holidays were coming. This was November. And you couldn't be more excited about what's going on. And then what happened? What almost sucked all the wind out of these sails?
We had gone into Dr. Fretwell's office to approach him
about this, I think.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, we're going to skydive with a client when she reaches gold. And he was
what do you think about that?
He's like, well, I think we're going to be selling the practice and not sure you guys have a job anymore.
Right. Oh.
No, he actually, it is kind of funny because that is how it
kind of went down.
It happened, but
oh my God.
He was trying everything he could in that moment to help us help his patients. I mean, he loves his patients, and he's been fantastic with us. But yes, we did have a dilemma because his private practice that he had, I think, for at least 18 or 20 years, he was now going to be selling it to a larger healthcare company, which wonderful for him. And it did put us in a situation where we said, okay, well, what does that mean for, and honestly, we weren't like, what does that mean for us? We were like, what does that mean for all of our clients who are a couple weeks in or a couple months into this program, or that even hit, you know, they're now in stabilization. Mm-hmm. How are we going to be able to support them? Because, you know, we gave them our word and told them that, like we like to say, we have their back like chiropract. We were like, we can't go back and tell them not.
We can't tell them that it's going to be shut down now.
And
oh my God, seriously,
there's no way. How can you do that?
And this is your heart and soul. Like, this isn't a job, right?
Yeah, like this was. We feel very much in alignment with what we do, and Dr. Fretwell was the first to say it, and he said, "Well, girls, you know," and it's so silly looking back because from the moment we started working together back pre-pandemic, we always talked about like, oh, we're going to take this over one day.
Yeah.
But like in that moment with all the pressure, we weren't like, oh, can we just take it over? You know, it took Dr. Fretwell to say, you girls should take this over. Or actually he gave us the option, which we were talking about earlier. Hey girls, it's an option for you guys to, you know, start a business. And I love that he said this. He said, you might surprise yourself. It could be fun.
And I think that's what solidified it. We just looked at each other and we were like, you know what? Yes. Like we have the opportunity.
I'm like taking a big deep breath in that moment. Like,
yes. It was such an amazing opportunity. I know how much he believed in us, and he knew that we would be able to take it to where we are today. I know that he knew that. And saw that in us.
Yeah, and there was that moment where we looked at each other when we're getting stuff out of the office, because it had to happen pretty quick. So we signed a lease. We first started an LLC on
my
January
daughter's first
14th.
birthday, January 14th.
So it just shows you how fast things can happen.
Yeah.
And then we were in our new building and we still saw clients. We just made the transfer into a new building. And we did, everything that we had to do in the background. And so we just continued to see clients and they never really knew. They just thought we kind of switched locations. But I do remember sitting in an empty office. Now you have to understand where Jen and I were working before MBS Wellness was formed was this tiny little closet.
It was an exam room in a medical doctor's practice. We were in
just one exam room.
That was like, I can't even explain to you what it was like to even move in there, because when I first started, I was sharing Dr. Fretwell's office.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Working out of that. So the progression of that alone is just amazing. So this working there was like my third baby, I started it from the ground up. So sitting in that empty office.
We sat in the empty office and we looked at each other and we had the exact same conversation we do with our clients. We said, do you think we can do this? Like it was that moment of, do we believe in ourselves? What we coach, are we there? And we were like, yep. And since then, it's never been a question,
Dang.
Yeah,
That's
it's really,
so awesome.
It's really cool
that
and
is
exciting.
So awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
And the jump was also another big part of that, right? We had made the declaration to do the jump.
And there was no way we were not going to do it. And have Ideal Protein be a part of that.
Yep.
And
again, like you said, but that's like you said, if the clinic was just going to shut down, what's just going to do? Right. This was too big of a thing. It was all three of you. It was more than just one person, right?
Right. And at this time, Ideal Protein wasn't even involved.
Right.
I think I wrote them about it because I thought it was a fantastic idea and just a good opportunity for great marketing and something fun. And it was just kind of dead silence for a little bit. So it was really us. That didn't have any part of us making the decision to keep moving forward because we were going to do it regardless. If it was just Jen and I and Jess renting a pilot.
And have somebody on the iPhone on the ground recording us.
We were doing it.
We're doing this.
We're doing it.
All right. So let's move the story there. Let's move that story forward. So you get settled. Things are starting to move along. Jessica is still losing weight, right? And we're starting to get close. We're starting to get pretty close to that part of the goal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you had sent something to Ideal Protein, but not really heard anything.
Yeah. So I talked to our CEM. She says, girls, you guys should share this story with the higher up. So I emailed some, we CC'd a few people on it, but I think it was just like a generic marketing Ideal Protein. And we didn't hear anything back. And we were honestly so busy starting MBS Wellness that it was just, cool. If it was a bite, then great. We would deal with it then, but it wasn't anything that we were like super hold high hopes on. And then we get an email. And
I was going to say that was a perfect moment for that, right?
So we get the email and they were interested in just talking to us about it. And then really in that moment, we were probably jumping up and down in our office because we just it was just such a validating moment, right? We took the leap to start the business was going fine, but still at this point we were only maybe in the office 30 days,
right?
To receive the email, and it just felt, it was that again, that alignment of you just feel these things coming together because not just because of luck, but because we've been putting in the work, right?
Yep.
And so that always feels so good. Just like Jessica was talking to Diane, saying no, this is what I did. You felt that way because you knew what you had been through in those past 6 months. You knew the dedication and, the diligence that you put forth. And so it was that moment where we knew that too. And so we were just now it's time to just enjoy it.
Yeah, having
You know?
that recognition and to sit back and be like, okay,
Let's
we're gonna
do it.
sit back and do it.
So then
I
we
remember-
called. We
I remember
called,
that day.
right?
You
I called
texted me.
Jess.
All it was girl with a whole lot of
I
exclamation.
get those phone calls a lot when I'm at home, when I'm with the kids, and I'm like, what are we doing now?
Oh my
I
God.
I think I was visiting my family and I got that text message and I was like, oh, Allison's got news.
It's never bad though. It's never bad.
It's
news.
never
No,
bad.
no,
Not if
no.
it starts with girl.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was
So
really cool.
We're building up to jump day.
Oh
And
man, I'm sweating thinking about it.
I know, right? So we're building up to jump day, and word's getting out. Are other
Yeah.
people saying, oh, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it too.
Jessica's
that-
support team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing how many people jumped right on board with me. My sister, that one was a big deal because she's gone before. My sister hated every second of her first jump.
I think that's hilarious because again, we see your sister in the video. I'm like, oh, isn't that great? Her sister went with her, etc. And then you're like, oh yeah, she hated it the first time, and just like Allison said, nope, one and done.
Yep.
I'm out.
Yeah,
I know. Well, and my husband, too, my best friend. There was quite a few people that jumped right on board. My husband had done it before. My best friend had not. So it was just kind of like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And,
Inspiring people. You're getting excited about all this. Ideal Proteins jumped on board. They're going to send a crew out there, right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
All
So
right.
this was about the time in the journey where I started to really notice these parallels in what we were about to do and Ideal Protein, right? Like just from even people seeing Jess say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and her inspiring other people to do that, just to us making the phone call to sign up for it. And I'm starting to like make
right?
connect these dots, like, oh wow, like this is what it feels like. I mean, yeah, I'm signing to jump out of a plane, but it's still something that I'm kind of apprehensive about. That's scary. That's going to take a real commitment. And so when we made the phone call, Jessica came over to MBS Wellness and we sat in the office and we all called together to put our name on the schedule.
Yeah, right.
And, that's when we started to see like how similar this process was to the process of Ideal Protein. And as we go and continue to tell the story, you'll see how, it's all of these tools that we learned through Ideal Protein that were really able to help Jen and I, and Jess too, survive it.
You could just go through that process.
And that was a really cool moment for me and all of this to start to connect those dots.
My sister, my sister, she basically just said, Jess, this is too big. I have to be a part of it. And it was just like, okay. And her husband as well. My brother-in-law, he also jumped on board. Yeah. I mean, I knew my support system was big, but that was when I really knew.
Wow. Well, Ideal Protein Nation, I hope you've enjoyed this much of the story. Again, these amazing young women, the things that they've been through, hopefully they've been inspiring you with their messages. Hopefully you've been able to connect to some of the emotions they've had with all of their different journeys, getting to this point where they're going to go skydiving and reach the pinnacle of this life possible goal that they dreamed up together. We're going to go ahead and stop the first episode, or the first part of this episode, and we're going to save Jump Day and everything that they experienced and everything they felt and all the lessons learned from actual Jump Day for the next episode, or at least for part 2 of episode 47. So I hope you've enjoyed this much, and stay tuned because the rest of the story is coming.